Hi, Rob. Welcome to the Impact Revolution channel. How are you? Thank you for coming.
I'm fine, thank you, Jesse. Looking forward to the next half hour.
Yes,
I'm not
me
knowing
too.
what you're going to ask, but I'll see.
It's going to be exciting and fun. Rob, normally we ask a couple of questions that are a bit personal, just for the audience to know you a bit better. And then
Okay?
later we can go to the more professional interview kind of questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay with me.
All right, cool. So we were talking about places that we visited, yes, before the interview. So I was wondering if you could wake up anywhere in the world tomorrow, Rob, where it would be and why?
Where would it? That's a difficult question. It depends on my mood, I guess. I don't know which what kind of mood I will wake up. Sometimes I need
Uh-huh.
vibrant cities, so I would like to wake up in Tokyo or maybe San Francisco.
All right.
Vibrant cities. Sometimes I don't need vibrant cities and I need to relax. Then
All right.
maybe some nice beach in Thailand would be nice. But I'm always happy to wake up in the Netherlands, also over here, because
Uh,
life is good here too. So difficult kind of question. I think it depends on my mood, what I want that day. Sometimes I need a lot of busy, a lot of people around me because that makes me relaxed.
uh,
And sometimes when I need to think, I need a relaxed place. So it depends on my mood or what I want to do on that day. If it comes down to sport, maybe a nice stadium I would love to be in. So I don't know. Depends on the mood.
it makes sense. It makes sense. No, that's true. That makes completely sense. It depends what you want in the moment, right? Very
Yeah.
good. All right. This is another question I like, Rob. Is someone who really admires you and knows you very well, Rob? How you will define who is Rob Adams?
That makes an assumption that such a person exists. That's first of
Yeah.
all. But I think I can be very enthusiastic about new ideas. I always try to challenge existing ideas, the dominant logic, how I call it.
Uh-huh.
Can be from a city point of view. I think we do a lot of things. We could do a lot of things differently in cities. We can do a lot of things different in how we treat this earth. I think we can do much better because we are destroying it and not loving it. Uh, but but I'm really open into new insights. And so if people come up with me with new insights of new ideas, or have you thought about this, or have you read this, or that's what makes me enthusiastic. If I need to do every day the same, if I need to be on repeat, I can be a very grumpy person. But that's not the
Uh-huh.
case when it has to do with new stuff. So I think most people would define me as or not most people. I think the person you describe as a challenger, challenging
Challenger.
existing ideas,
Uh-huh.
challenging the dominant logic of society.
Uh-huh. I love it, That's why we created this Impact Revolution channel to redefine the business mindset. So I like this kind of challenging mindset. And I was wondering, Rob, what is your why? Why are you doing what you do?
Because I think we need to think of next generations.
Mm,
Think we don't own this earth, or you don't own a house, or you're not. You do, life in itself is short, so you better need to take care not only of yourself, but especially for the people living after you. And I
uh-huh,
love my kids. I don't know if they will have kids, maybe not, maybe they do. I don't know. They don't know yet either. But
uh-huh,
to take care of future generations, I think that's what needed. And I think most companies, most people think too much about themselves. And I
uh-huh.
think that is ruining society, ruining this planet. So to make a bit of a change, of course, I'm not in a position to make a lot of big changes, but if I can add to change, then I feel worthwhile.
Okay, I love it. Heads up for that. No, definitely. I really like this idea of return of learning instead of return on investment, and this long-term mindset, right? Instead of
Yeah.
short-term goals that most organizations are pursuing. And I was wondering, what do you do exactly with this kind of work that you do, Rob?
Well, I published my new book. It's being published 2 weeks ago. It's
All
indeed
right.
called Return on Learning. So you did your work well.
Uh-huh.
It's not yet
Congratulations.
published in English, but it will be published in English. But If you look to return on investment, that's the way we are being educated. If I go back 2,000 years ago, the Romans believed in the augurs. That's how they were called. There was a wise group of men in those days. That Rome wasn't an inclusive society, but
Mhm.
if important decisions need to be made, they looked the way birds flew, and they cut open chickens to look into the intestines of a chicken and say, well, based on what we spotted inside a chicken and the way the birds flew, you need to make decisions like this. And important people within Roman society said, well, if that's the case, then we do this. Well, I don't think as a CEO or a politician, if you cut open chickens anymore, if you would cut open chicken, and this is my decision, that people would think you would be crazy. But 2,000 years ago, this was normal. And the society where we live in, everything is based on return on investment. So if I put $1 or €1 into something, the return should be higher than what I put in. And that means from the 1800s, it was based on the book of Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. He said, well, if you go after your self-interest, if everybody is catering to their self-interest, the whole economy and the whole society will have an upgrade, because we want to have more and more and more. And then growth was invented. And to quote a US biologist, growth for growth's sake is the ideology of the cancer cell. It will destroy society, it will destroy organisms, it will destroy people. So, but now they believed in the litus, that there was a sign of the augurs. They had a staff with a curl in it. They called it the litus. And now we believe in this one, the growth, everything with the hockey stick. Well, we need to have a lot of growth, and everybody's looking out. But at one point, you cannot grow anymore. And if you do it from a biological point of view, in biology, if you do an experiment with in a Petri cup, put in some bacteria, they double every 20 minutes. So they double very fast. And within one day, the whole colony in this Petri cup is dead, because they keep expanding, more bad gases in this cup, and then the whole colony dies. And
it's not
I
sustainable.
think if we keep growing, the same might happen to us, but that has to do with constantly thinking in return on investment. And I understand the benefits of return on investment, because there is also benefit in growth. But therefore, I came up with the concept of return on learning. Besides the steering instrument of return on learning, we also need, because return on investment is for short cycle, it's about short-term thinking. It's about we need this return to stakeholders or shareholders within 1 year. We need a long-term instrument, and that's what I called return on learning, in which is about yielding high learning curves. So make sure that you gain high learning curves based on the domains and themes which might have an impact on your future, but you're not sure about it. And this is an instrument for long-term thinking. And I think we need both. You need short-term, because if you have money, but you need, a lot of companies don't dare to invest in long-term thinking because they don't know what the outcome is. But it's also because we are really lousy in logging the outcomes of I call them learning expeditions, or you might call it innovation or business development, or whatever you call it. But we are very lousy in logging everything we learn, and companies, they learn a lot. To give an example, I was asked what a big internet shop in the Netherlands, I won't say the name, to say they did a big project. It was 1.2 million euros, and they said, we failed. I said, why did you fail? Well, the business model didn't work, so we didn't make any money. Said, okay, so return on investment is zero, or even minus. What is the return on learning? They said, what do you mean? I said, what did you learn in those 14 months you did these experiments? What were the hypotheses in the beginning? Which people did you speak with? Did you log your expedition? They didn't log anything. They had 2 lousy PowerPoints somewhere on the Google Doc drive. Nobody ever looked at it again. Of the team of 12, 8 had left the building because they thought, well, we failed, so let's leave the building. So
Uh-huh.
they didn't lock it right. I said your return on learning might have been very high if you locked
Yeah, for sure.
everything in this 14 months, and then you could build upon the things you learned. So you maybe you had really steep learning curves, but you don't know anymore. So then
Mm.
the investment has been a wrong investment. But if you lock everything like travelers did or travelers do when traveling to a foreign country, and we did it 400 or 500 years ago, even Columbus made a logging of his journey. And I don't know if Columbus is the right example anymore in this society, but we logged everything. But with expeditions within companies, we don't log a lot. So a lot of
uh,
learnings are gone. And that's the
they're
concept of
gone
return on
definitely.
learning.
I think that's a very good point, you know, because I was working as a consultant engineer in the past, all right, and we have many projects, right, and finally when they did you know, an assessment of what the projects were doing, it was like the 20-80%, you know, 20% of the clients were doing 80% of the profit and the revenue of the company. And as you said, you know, this 80% of failure projects, you know, people, they were not getting the lessons learned, you know, and the ideas that where they fail, what has happened, you know, and then they are repeating the same mistakes all the time and all the time, and that doesn't add any value in the long term at them, because people are all the time focusing on getting more projects, on getting more growth, on getting more money, more clients, and just focusing on this, and they forget the other side, you know. And also, you remind me to this Bill Gates quote that says, "Success is a lousy teacher," you know. So sometimes we learn much more on the failure side and when things go wrong than when the things go right.
Yeah, but you can also learn a lot from the knowledge you gain. I think,
Sure, for
and
sure.
it's about building this intelligence system. I think we enter the age of intelligence and leave the age of knowledge.
Very
Uh,
good.
the environment we now live in, big companies had more knowledge than small companies, so they could outcompete smaller companies based on knowledge and based on the IT systems. Well, that's gone because IT is getting cheaper and cheaper. AI is coming in. Knowledge will be in the system. The way you get the intelligence out of the system is by asking questions. And
Uh-huh.
we are being raised in this, the last century was about knowledge and about having the right answers. And I think we are now entering the age of intelligence, and it's about finding the right questions.
I like
And
that, yeah.
finding right questions is much more difficult than gaining knowledge.
Mm,
Because if you are able to design the right questions towards the future, that's much more interesting because the systems will give you insights on the questions you ask.
uh-huh.
Uh, and I think if you have a lot of facts or if you know a lot, you have knowledge. But if you are able to ask the right questions, you have intelligence. And
Mm,
intelligence is really something else. And this return on learning system I developed in the book I wrote, it's about getting an intelligence system within your organization by finding a new question, finding new questions, finding new questions. And of course, knowledge is attached to it, but it's constantly about finding the right key learning indicators. This is the key learning. This is what we need to learn towards the future. It's key learning. Then you learn a
mm,
lot, and maybe you discover 3 or 4 more key learning indicators, new key learnings. And based on that, what you then discover, you can say, well, we go on to with key learning indicator 1 and 3, we leave 2 and 4 because we don't have the money, we don't have the time, or whatever. But then you keep expanding your knowledge and your learning capability. And if you build upon this system, your system will get more intelligent and intelligence, and therefore the ability to adapt will be higher. So
sure.
if things happen within your future and you have been working with the system for 6, 7 years, it's easy to adapt because you know what's going on. Now we should do this. Now we should do that. Now we should that. Now we do just that. That's completely different than rigid strategy building, in which you make a lot of assumptions. This will what's happening. This is what will happen, and then you build your strategy on assumptions. By
Uh-huh.
finding constantly different kind of questions and working with return on learning, you build an intelligence system within your company. And I think the ability to adapt will be crucial in the future. Of course, it has been always, but things change in a more rapid pace.
Yeah.
So the ability to adapt, it's so critical. But we are not building the way we structured our company was not about the ability of adapt. It was about knowledge, and it was like chess playing. If you play chess, it's an old strategic game. If I do this, then this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. But we don't live in a time of chess anymore. It's about playing Angry Birds. Shoot, miss. What did you learn? Shoot, miss. What did you learn? Hey, third time hit it. Level 1. Now go on with level 2. So chess is the old system. Angry Birds is the new system. And by building up on the structure of return on learning, your ability to adapt will be much higher, and you need to adapt, otherwise you will die. That's the old theory of evolution. If you don't adapt, you will die.
Sure.
So making sure that you are able to adapt can be done by building this return on learning structure in which you ask questions constantly, and based on these questions you gain learnings. And it's not about having a lot of knowledge and sitting on this knowledge. I know more than you, so I will outcompete you. No, that's not the case anymore. And especially from the domains we are unsure about, from a technological point of view, AI or whatever, but also the big societal issues we have, the climate issues. We need to learn as much as possible. And from a company point of view, but also governments can work with this structure about what are the questions, the key questions towards the future. Gain knowledge, ask new questions, gain knowledge, ask new questions.
Definitely. No, I totally agree. It's about adapting faster to the faster changing, accelerated world, I think, as well as learning. Yeah. We need to learn more rapidly, and faster as well. Thank you so much. Very interesting, Rob. I was thinking, how are you implementing this balance that you talked before about having this return of learning, right, and return of investment, right? Because I think it's a balance. It's not having all 100% in one or 100% in other. It's
No.
just the right balance depending on the organization. So I was wondering, how do you do that at this moment?
At this moment, we are also finding out, because
Okay.
we don't have the exact solutions for everyone. It depends on the company, the sector you're in, and the way it's
Sure.
how it's been driven by money. Some sectors are really driven by money, other are less driven by money.
Mm,
So what you first decipher is, well, first is, are you open to acknowledging that you don't know the future, that you don't know your course, your route towards the
mm,
future? So acknowledging, saying to yourself, I don't know it, that is the first step. But most managers or directors don't like this step because they're being paid to be sure. But nobody can be sure in these times anymore. The
Humility,
future
yeah.
is the future is about not knowing,
Uh-huh.
and you better embrace that, and then it's about which domains might hit you, and what are the themes in the future that might hit you or you can benefit from. So what we do is this process called backcasting. We try to travel in time. That's of course impossible, but what if you could be Marty McFly in his DeLorean in the movie Back to the Future? You could travel in time and you would come back to in today, and
Uh-huh.
you would have seen the future. You would probably think differently because you have seen it. Well, that's impossible. What
Uh-huh.
is possible to say about the big global developments and big global trends that are happening? Well, we make an assumption that the world will change in this way. So you can say, if this is the case within 5 or 10 years in the world we're going to live in, these are the most driving themes that might harm us or might benefit us. But these themes will be the changing themes within 5 or 10 years from now. If you
Uh-huh.
say, if these are the themes we agree upon, then you can ask questions towards these themes. What can we learn? What is the big key learning indicator for theme 1? What's the big key learning indicator for theme 2, theme 3, 4? So then you can start with 3 or 4 key learning indicators, and start learning, speak with experts or speak with non-experts, because sometimes experts can also be the biggest barrier towards the future, because they have become expert based on knowledge in the past. It's not about knowledge of the future. But then you go on learning expeditions to learn as much as possible on the first questions. And one key learning indicator can be divided in three maybe later, because you found out some knowledge. This can be A, B, or C, and then you go on. But the
Uh-huh.
first thing is to admit you don't know anymore. To say, well,
Mm.
the future
The
is
and
about
not in our
maybe.
ignorance, right? Because and our vulnerability, I guess. Yeah.
That's an ability to
Yeah.
understand, to
Yeah.
find out what you don't know. Uh, it's also a task to know what you're not knowing. Then you gain a lot of knowledge. If you understand what you don't know yet, that's a big knowledge. Well, if you
Totally.
have gained this insight, then you can say, well, this is what we don't know, this is what we don't know. So we need to learn. We need to learn how climate is going to impact a certain sector, the health sector, or whatever. What societal changes will do to our customer base, how AI will impact reading, and what does that mean from a library. I don't know. You can ask different kind of questions.
Sure.
Then you can build these key learning indicators upon it and learn as much as possible and diversify in your learning. And then you build this intelligent system, because the more you do it, the more you will gain knowledge.
Sure. I was thinking, Rob, what are the key changing themes that you see that are coming up in the future? And what are the key learning indicators that, or how do you apply these key learning indicators in some cases? Like, do you do training every week, every month, something like that? Or, yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, it also depends on the company.
Sure,
Some
just
companies
your
are
favorite
small.
example.
Yeah, well, it depends also on the amount of money you can invest, because, of course, and how many people you can put on this, because people want to work with return on learning. People who want to renew and gain different insights and want to challenge the current system are different than the people who want to make sure that the current system keeps working. So there's a big difference between improving and renewing. Return
Mm,
on learning works on the renewing part of it. So it's not about Lean, Six Sigma, all these kind of things that will make sure that you
eh,
keep improving. And improving is very important. If you don't improve, maybe you can shut down your company within half a year, and then it's the end. So improving is very important. Renewing too. Return on investment is on the improving side. It's about making more money, or making money in a better way, or that's what return on
Making
investment is about.
efficiency, productivity, all that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
accountability,
Uh,
execution. So on one
uh-huh.
side you've got execution as the prime reason for existing, executing and improving the execution. And on the other hand, it's exploring, is the expedition. People who are really great
Experimentation.
into Yeah, people who are really great into improving are normally not the people who like to explore, and people who are explorer are not the great improvers. So if you separate them, then you've got a team of the
Mm.
exploring team, and you can explore with them. I've written a book about it. It's called Virtus. It's also in English. It's about the difference between improving and renewing. If you then look
Mm.
into renewing, it's about how can we renew as much as possible. But to renew, you need new insights, and
Mhm.
renewing has to do with the future. Renewing is about adapting to the future. That's what renewing in if you make it simple, if you want to renew, if you want to innovate, well, that has to do with adapting towards the future. So
Yeah, totally.
there are a lot of things happening in this world, and yeah, I can do a trend. Well, sometimes we do huge trend analysis for companies, based on a lot of trend signals, a lot of knowledge that's already around in the world about things, how changes are happening. But a lot of things are changing. In health, we need more. We think we need more control, and from a mental point of view and from a physical point of view. So a lot of things are happening over there. from inclusivity is addressing, getting more and more attention. Attention. Finally, how can you build an inclusive society? Of course, from a technological point of view, a lot of things are happening with AI, robotization. In cities, a lot of things are happening. City life is getting more and more efficient. If you look to how we deploy technology in cities, it makes life more efficient, more efficient, more efficient. And I don't think the goal in life is to be as efficient as possible. I don't know, might I become 80 that I look back upon my life as having led the most efficient life ever. I think I have done a lot of things wrong. It's not about efficiency, but the deployment of technology is about efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. So how can we change in that course? So yeah, if you look from consumption and the way we treat the earth, conscious consuming is a big trend. I think within 10 years we need to be more conscious, aware of how we consume, what we consume.
Yeah,
Maybe
Amazon is not helping there.
What?
Amazon is not helping there.
Well,
It was a joke. It was a joke.
yeah, no, but we need to be aware. So there will be.
Sure.
I think
No, I
people
totally
will
agree.
become more conscious in consuming, and then you've got a lot of generations, a lot of different generations who need to understand each other. So a lot of things are happening. Well,
It's interesting, isn't it? They are coming very challenging times, I think. Rob.
I think so too. Yeah, and I
All
think if
right.
you live in the middle of it, times are always challenging. If this would be now 1982, we would think it would be challenging too. And there was no internet, there were no mobile phones, nothing was there. And I think we would still think this is a challenging time. I think if you're in the middle of it, you
Always,
think
right?
everything
Always
is
a challenging
challenging.
time with humanity, right?
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah, I think now it's simpler, in terms of technology and opportunities, So I think it's time to reflect more, I think, and to make the right decisions for the future. I believe, in my view. All right. Yeah, Rob, thank you so much. We are having 3 minutes left, so I was wondering, what are your key lessons learned so far about everything that you do? That you want to share?
that the capability of understanding that you don't know a lot, that's crucial.
Uh-huh.
That's hard for a lot of people to say, I don't know, because like I said, most people are being paid to know.
Uh,
To understand that questions are more important than answers.
uh,
That intelligence is something completely different than knowledge.
uh-huh.
And that learning is a huge competency of us human beings. So we better learn the right lessons instead of learning, building this capacity of to not loving this planet. We need to cater more for this planet and understand that we don't own it. Our grandparents didn't own it, we don't own it, and the next generations don't own it. So you better use it in the right way instead of misusing it.
That's beautiful. Yeah, use the word in the right way, basically. Yeah. All right. We have 1 minute and a half left. I was wondering, Rob, do you have any last words that you would like to share that we haven't covered?
Any last words? That sounds normally that sounds a bit depressing. The last words of this guy were
For
like
now,
this
for
and this.
now. Okay, for now.
Yeah,
Something that we haven't covered, that you may want
no.
to share with us.
Well, keep experimenting, keep learning. That for me is the basic assumption, and make sure that you are aware of the lessons you learn. It's not about improving your own capacity so that I can do this and this better. No, it's about learning and gaining new knowledge, and you can only gain new knowledge by asking questions. So, but yeah, famous last words would be finding the right question is much more difficult than finding an answer. Because the answers we now have will be different answers in 20 years from now, but the question might still be valid.
This is very coaching mentality, Rob. And I was wondering, where did it came, this kind of thinking for you, this kind of focus, to these things that you are doing now, Rob?
Well, as from a small kid, I always ask questions, so I was not the class favorite of teachers. They,
You
but
were the
I've
pain in
always
the
asked a
ass
lot
of
of
the teachers.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
more in my personality, I guess, than it's something I trained. But
All
and
right.
if
Very
you ask
cool.
a lot of questions, if you ask the question why all the time, most people start disliking you because they get tired of you. But it's important. If we didn't ask the question why, somewhere when we as human species lived in a cave, we would still be living in the caves, and we built houses because somebody said, "Why are we living in this case? We can do something different." So
Totally.
let's build upon this. We can progress if we ask the right questions.
Yeah, I totally support and believe on that as well, Rob. Thank you so much, Rob. It was a fantastic time with you. Thanks a lot. And yeah, see you next time. I don't know, you want to say something else?
I would say thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. A big pleasure.